Krawchuk with us. Ken has been a Toastmaster for about 10 years. He has served as president of ETS, and he also formerly worked at ETS as a consultant. And Ken has competed in many contests, and so he brings a lot of experience for us to come today and practice our table topics. So, Ken, why don't you come forward?
Thank you, Madam President. Oh, no. They're looking at me. How many people like table topics? How many people are scared stiff when they get up and start talking about table topics? I feel for you. I started Toastmasters here 10 years ago, almost 10 years ago, in this very room. Sitting right there where Mary Barone is currently sitting. I remember my first table topic. I was scared. I was terrified. It was an easy question. Everybody got the same question. The question was, who gave you your wings? Well, I had an answer for that. And I thought, I'm going to say something. And my hands started to move. It stopped. My heart started going, and I just sat there, and I didn't do anything. I came back to my second meeting. The question was, what do you think about the weather? Now everybody's got an opinion about the weather, except me. I sat there in the corner, didn't do anything. It took me 3 meetings before I got the courage to stand up and do a table topic. Well, I got my fear, and I went on. It was because of table topics that I came to Toastmasters. I wanted to learn how to speak impromptu, how to get those questions fired at you and get them answered. And it succeeded. So I'm back here today, back to my original haunt, where I first started in Toastmasters, to talk about table topics, what I've done with them, what they've done with me. And then we're going to do some practice. Now, since most of you don't like table topics, prepare for table topics, I have a great pool of recruits on which to call. But before we start, let's talk about table topics. What is a table topic? Simply put, a table topic is a clear, concise answer to a question. Now, when do we do that? Is it any good? Can we just do it for our health? Of course not. Table topics come in all over the place. In fact, I had 5 table topics between the time I came in that door and the time I stood up here. Somebody comes and says, "Hi, how you doing?" There's a table topic, a chance to get a little quick, concise answer. What have you been up to? Again, chance for a short, concise answer. There are other times we find ourselves doing table topics. For example, a job interview. Yeah, tell me something about yourself. What are you good at? Maybe you're doing a presentation. Somebody gets to the question and answer part, and somebody says, "What do you mean by that?" And you just stand there and explain. You'll find table topics all over the place in your life. For example, you may be out there driving along, coming into work one day, and you look in the rearview mirror, and there's the officer. Where's the fire? There was one time where table topics saved my neck. And my wife is here in the audience. She can attest to this. We were coming back from a Thanksgiving Eve party, 4 in the morning, Penn's off in New Jersey. Look, we saw lights up ahead, police lights. We thought, what, is it an accident? Something going on? It was a sobriety checkpoint. We had been to a party. I had been drinking. Roll down the window. "Good evening, officer. Can I help you?" He says, "Have you been drinking?" Toastmaster skills kicking? "Yes, sir, I have. In fact, I've had 3 beers all night. Pennsylvania sent me this little card that says for my body weight, I can have 5 drinks and remain under the legal drinking limit." The officer looked at me, whacked the side of the car, he says, "That's the best story I've heard all night. Have a good evening, sir." Table topic saved my neck. Now, even sometimes when it hasn't saved my neck, and the officer says, "Do you know how fast you were going?" 75? 76. So you wind up in court. You stand there, table topicking with the judge. Did you promise to tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth, help you God? No. I have rights secured by the Constitution, and I do not waive them. The ultimate table topic. In 2002, I received the great honor of becoming the Libertarian candidate for governor of Pennsylvania. Ken, what do you think about this? Ken, what about that? It was 9 months of table topics. Some of it on national television. Let me tell you, I could not have done that without the help, support, and feedback that I received in this very room from my fellow UTS Toastmasters. It's a wonderful thing. So why are we here? Because we are going to practice today. We're going to learn a few things about table topics. We're going to learn some of the obvious things, some of the not so obvious things that you may not have thought about. Let's start with the obvious things. Some of the obvious things, how do you get good at table topics? You practice. You get up there, and every time, when they're looking for a volunteer, your hand should be the first one to go up. Talk to the table topic master. Let them know that you want to practice. That way you get called on a little more. Isn't that a great idea? Who wants to be called on more? You don't have to answer all at once. There's one. I'll keep that in mind for a little bit later on. Another thing is enter the contest, the table topic contest. Because that really shows your mettle, shows what you're worth. Because if you can function in a contest situation, and you see those lights in that mirror behind you, you know you're going to be ready for that. And if you lose, re-enter. In 1998, after I'd been a Toastmaster for 1 year, I won the club table topic contest. Woo! I was surprised. It was the first one I entered. I won the area. I won the division. I made it all the way to the district. And I washed out. Hey, you go to the Super Bowl the first time, you always lose. You know, it's the same thing. 2000, it happened again. I won the club, I won the area, I won the division, and I washed out the district. Third time was the charm, though. It was in 2001. I went all the way, won the gold. Who'd have thunk it? Tenacity. That's just a general fact of life. You hold on to something, try for it as hard as you can, you will indeed get it. But contest winning table topics don't come easy. There are many things that you have to keep in mind. One of the first things you must remember is that a table topic is a speech. And like any speech, it has a structure. It has a beginning. It has a middle. It has an end. The opening has to bring people in. The end has to give solid closure. Everything you've learned in Toastmasters is poured into that table topic. So you got to have the eye contact. You got to have the gestures. You got to have. You got to do things to catch people's attention, to catch their hearts, to catch their minds. A lot of times, your mind goes blank. They ask you a question. What's your name, Allison? And you lock up. I found that one of the best things to do at table topic is to go with your first thought. Somebody asks you a question, something along the lines of, Ken, what do you think about children today? Some kids be thrown out the window. And you're up there, oh man, and you're not going to get the thought out of your mind. So you have to roll with it. You have to pretend that that's it. And think, well, I can embellish upon that. I can talk about the time when we first got married. When we just had a little baby. And the baby was nursing at her mother's breast. And about how we saved grocery bills because we didn't have to buy formula. All of a sudden, I take and throw the baby out the window into a cute little table topic. Just the sort of thing that you want. Sometimes when your mind goes blank, you don't know what to do, you start getting nervous, your hands go in the pocket, and you get a bright idea. A light bulb goes on somewhere. You say, I've got cops in my pocket. That's a train I can get on board. I I've seen people do that in an evaluation contest, where they bring drugs. I can't remember his name. Paul, the elderly gentleman. Somebody help me out. I don't remember his name. He almost won. He made it to the district level. And he'd bring out a glass and he says, your speech was like a fine glass of wine. But he brought his own props with him. Props are important because you never know. You bring the wrong prop, you can bomb out without that. Another thing to make a tabletop roll is to give it a theme, some central idea to come back to, whether it's anger. Start a tabletop. Do you know what happened to me today? Or start off something. I love my wife. Something that's going to carry you through, because if you lose things to talk about, you can always come back to say, what an awful day it was today. Or, gee, my wife did a nice thing for me today. Something that will support your tabletop, something that will hold on to it, something that will bring it on home. You're angry. Can you believe what you did? What are you playing around? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to today's tabletop. I'm your TV announcer. And again, it gives you some sort of a theme that you can build upon. Many things you can use. There was one that I heard, I guess it was around 2 months ago. The tabletop person stood up there. They were given the question. They thought for a second, and they started, Dear Diane. And that was wonderful, because after that, it was a soliloquy, an exposition to themselves. And that gave them the structure on which to hang their table topic. A lot of other things you would think of. But when that mind goes blank, you're stuck. I found the trick, the table topics. A very simple one. There's one thing you have to do. You have to get to that green paddle. When that green paddle goes up, you're gold! You get right out. So the first thing I like to do is burn up the clock. You stand up there, fellow Toastmasters, Madam President, Madam President, my dear wife, Gene Shippo, international contest contestant, Allison, who I just met earlier today. Where's Marilyn Brewer? I didn't see her out front, but I wish she were here. Now, I just burned up 20 seconds of my 60 seconds. Wonderful thing to do. Or you can do a recurring theme. Something that burns up the clock. There I was. I took a step. And I took another step. Then I took another step. Hey, there were 10 seconds. Closer and closer to that final thing. Final green paddle. Another trick is to repeat the question. Can you tell us sometime when you were embarrassed? When was I embarrassed? Let me think about that, because when was I embarrassed? I might have been embarrassed. I could have been embarrassed. Repeat the question over and over. Embarrassed. Well, what does it mean to be embarrassed? Question the question. Well, do you mean embarrassed in the blushing sense, or embarrassed in the philosophical sense, the personal sense? There are so many ways you can be embarrassed. You can kick it up a level. While I was running for governor, I had a question, a trick question. This is from a supposed supporter. Being interviewed, it was a talk radio show, and he called in, and he said, Ken, what do you think about seatbelts for kids? I'm driving along here, talking on my cell phone, one-handed, and in front of me there's a kid bouncing around in the back seat. Don't you think parents should be required to buckle their kids in? Now, what am I going to say? I'm going to say, oh, no, kids should be allowed to get hurt and everything like that. It's a touchy question. You kick it up a level. You question the question. You say, the question here is not whether or not a child should be buckled. The question is, who decides how to raise a child? The parent or the state? If it's the state, then they can make whatever laws they want. They force you to do X or Y, take away your trans fats. If it's the parents, that's the way the American family was built. That's what made America strong. I'm in favor of parents raising their children. What do you think? turn it around. So you can play with the question. Always you can play with the questions. They're a lot of fun. You can also give canned answers. A canned answer to an impromptu question, it's an easy thing to do. When people ask me what I think about Toastmasters, I have a canned answer. My answer is, Toastmasters ruined my life. I can't listen to a man on the street interview anymore. Yeah, did you see what happened? Yeah, I saw the whole thing. Today, I got a text message. Today, on the way over here from my daughter. I have 3 daughters, they're all in their 20s. And 2 of them are Toastmasters. And one of them said, Dad, I started today, or yesterday actually, at the Art Institute in Philadelphia. And my teacher, in 7 minutes, had 50 ums and ahs. My daughter's ruined! She's ruined just like the rest of us. But that's my canned answer. When somebody asks me about Toastmasters. Now, Jack Levitt, who was the sponsor of the ETS Toastmasters Club, taught me another canned answer. I was the tabletop master for the Division D contest. I think this was around 3 years ago. We were down in Trenton. And I got to ask the question. Now, I'm an old hippie. I got my hair cut. Some of you remember me when I had longer hair. But I like to ask musical questions. And I went to the Jefferson Airplane. And the question was, when the truth is found to be lies and all the joy within you dies, don't you want somebody to love? Now, Jack Levitt, he had a canned answer in the back of his head. Whenever somebody uses the word love, he talks about his kids, about how much he loves his kids. It's a canned answer. He's got it in his back pocket. He's ready to use it at any given second. It's amazing when you watch these things. Prepared answers to impromptu questions. Thinking outside of the box. And if you want to think way outside the box, we've got a guy in my club, Richard. He's a trip. Because this guy, he'll get up there and he'll just flat out lie. Richard, what did you do today? Well, after the space shuttle mission last week, I was kind of fatigued. You know, geek fatigued. Or he'll stand up and say, I was doing stand-up comedy downtown late last night, and I'm just beat. And I've seen new members come up to him and say, Richard, what kind of stand-up do you do? And Richard will say, well, you know, I'll get up front of Toastmasters and I'll stand up. There's nothing wrong with tall tales. You can do what you want when you're up here. Everything follows. It follows from that. Because you're the person in command. It's your brain. It's easy. It's theoretically more difficult as time goes on sometimes. And when you get up here and your knees start shaking and knocking, it may not seem so easy to do. You may just want to hide. But they're the basics, the way I see it. Treat it as a speech. Go with your first thought. Don't be afraid to stand outside the box. Now let's see how well what I've said has sunk in. Because it's time for us to practice a few of these things. But before I do, there could be something I missed. Can we open the floor up to any questions? Maybe have any questions or observations? Oh, come on, I couldn't have told you everything. Well, let me see if I have any questions. Let me just take a quick look at my notes to make sure that I did not miss anything important. Cops, judges, governor, practice, tenacity, structure, eye contact. I missed audience participation. It's always good to drag in the audience. Let's see a show of hands. How many people don't like shows of hands? You can always play around. Go with your first idea. Use your props, whatever's available. Give it a theme. Whatever kind of theme. Dear Diary, whatever it might be. Burn up the clock. Talk about the question. Repeat the question. Repeat the question. Give a canned answer. Lie. I did miss one. Don't answer the question. Ken, what do you think about the state of the war in Iraq? You know, I love green peppers. I saute them in olive oil, maybe a little bit of butter to add to it. What's that going to do with the war in Iraq? Nothing! This is table topics. You're the one in command.
How do you prepare for prompts? If it's table topics and you don't know you're going to be called on, how would you I mean, you're called up and you come up and then you get the question. How do you prepare with the prompt for that?
I think it's more the opposite. You have to be aware of what prompts you have with you. For example, I see you're wearing a scarf. You can always sit there and say, "Did you see what happened to Saddam?" You're wearing a shoe. You can play Nikita Krawchuk. And a lot of times when you just stand there, what else? I have a penknife. I could talk about a buddy of mine. He's one of these geeks. He's got a Swiss Army knife. And it's got scissors and a screwdriver. And he flips out another one. It's got one of those USB zip drives, a 1/4 gig. Isn't that amazing? I just burned up 15 seconds. Well, you may have your purse with you. You can point to your purse. You can borrow somebody else's phone. You say, "There I was at the game, watching the battle." It's up to your imagination and what you can see. It's a question of being aware of what's there. And you do things like take your notes and say, "That's the last time I'll do that." Prompts are everywhere. Good question. It's all about impromptu. It's all about letting your mind breathe.
And that's an excellent answer, too.
But you have to keep your mind free. The best way to do that is to be at ease in front of an audience. And where do we learn to be at ease in front of an audience? Toastmasters. So let's see who's going to be at ease. And the first person I'm going to call up is Gene Shigos. I will tell you why. Now, I'm going to go easy. Gene, welcome to the front of the room. I'm going to go easy on some people. I should ask this first. Who has a Toastmaster designation? CTM, ATM, CC, show of hands. Oh, half of you. Okay, remember that because I'm going to give you guys the hard questions. And I'm going to give everybody else the easier ones. Yeah. Go on ahead. Now, in order to make it easier on everybody, I'm going to give everybody the same general question. The question is about New Year's resolutions. This is the first meeting of the year, so it's an appropriate topic. But I'm not going to say, "Gene, what did you resolve for the new year?" I don't care what she resolved for the new year. I want to know what she thinks somebody else should have resolved. And I'm going to put her on the spot. This woman is the best Toastmaster I know. So I'm going to give her the most difficult one. Gene, I want you to tell me, what is the New Year's resolution that Kurt Landgraf should have made?
Fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, and especially Mr. Ken Krawchuk. Did I ever mention that I hate table topics? I hate table topics. Why? Because you don't have an opportunity to prepare for them. I like to write my speeches in advance, memorize them, and be prepared. I want to know where I am going to move during the speech. I want to know what gestures I am going to use. Table topics doesn't give you the opportunity to do that because you have to shine on the spot. And who wants to fail? I don't want to fail. Kurt Landgraf hasn't been around much recently. I haven't seen him very much. And unfortunately, I'm an old-timer at ETS, and I remember former presidents who would every Christmas come around to our desk and shake our hands and wish us a happy holiday. And every so often come around just to say hello. How are you? What are you doing? This is what I think Kurt Landgraf should do. His New Year's resolution should be to get in touch with the people, because we, the people, make up ETS. We're the people who work on a day-to-day basis and strive towards Kurt Landgraf's objectives. And how can we do that if he doesn't make us feel that we're a valued, important part of his life and of the community at ETS? So, in conclusion, I believe that Kurt Landgraf should make a resolution resolved to be in front of the people more frequently, to visit us, to communicate with us more often, maybe to come to a Toastmasters meeting.
didn't answer the question. She got up here talking about how she hated tabletops here. She burned up a good 15, 20 seconds on that. And I thought, she's just going to dodge this entire... She took away some of my thunder because I was going to mention how she used gestures, about how she came forward when she changed the subject. She used her feet rather ably. She had good projection. She had the eye contact, everything that I would expect from an international contestant. She also got around to answering the question. And she did it diplomatically. Somebody would stand here and say, that Kurt Landgraf, he ought to raise my pay, or he ought to get rid of that other guy who's running whatchamacallit. She handled it very diplomatically. And I was here in the days when Greg Andrew used to come around and shake each and every hand. I was a consultant, and he spent several minutes talking with me, telling me how important it was that we have consultants to fill gaps of knowledge, gaps of effort. Gene, you did a wonderful job, and I expected no less. And I knew you hated tape. You know I hate them. And there's another reason that I'll save for a little bit later on. All right, next. Now, I'm a member of the Libertarian Toastmasters Club, a club which was sponsored by this club. Matter of fact, if your banner were here, who's your sergeant at arms? Oh, it's not up. It should be up. If your banner was up, I'd be able to say, see this ribbon? That's because you sponsored our Libertarian Club. Well, our Libertarian Club, we always call in volunteers. We Libertarians believe in personal responsibility. So I'm bringing that here. I'm going to ask for volunteers. And if you don't volunteer, I'm going to start volunteering. Come on up. So your name? Angela. Angela. Are you a CTM, ATM? CTM. Good. You did a difficult one. Tell us your New Year's resolution that you think should have been made by your next door neighbor.
Fellow Toastmasters and honored guests, I believe what Ken is asking me is what my next door neighbor should have made as a New Year's resolution, correct? My next door neighbor should have made as their New Year's resolution, first and foremost, without a doubt, no questions asked, to get a muzzle for their dog. Because that's every morning at 6 a.m. like clockwork, all the way through the day. Thank God I go to work until 10 o'clock at night when they put the dog back in the house. So what do we do? What do we do about the people who need to make these New Year's resolutions but refuse to make the ones that are most important to their neighbors? So we go over and we knock on their door. Excuse me, neighbor. Would you please bring our dog inside? Don't let them out until about 6:30. And bring them back inside around 8 o'clock at night. It'd be very nice for us. And the neighbor replies, well, that wasn't my New Year's resolution. Next year.
That was excellent. Absolutely excellent. Because there was the emotion, the props. There's an excellent example of a prop. The table. It was right there. The suggestions, just the pure emotion. She showed us something that works best, not just for table topics, but across the board in Toastmasters, and that's the fact that personal stories always work best. When you talk from the heart, you touch the heart. Certainly you touch the heart there, especially with the poor dog. A lot of us can commiserate with that. Excellent job. Dragged us right in. Good, solid conclusion. Next. How about a newbie? Somebody who's not a CTM or an ATM. Come on up. You're welcome. Now, are you from Pennsylvania or New Jersey?
New Jersey.
New Jersey. Well, then tell me, what do you think is the New Year's resolution that should have been made by the Giants football team?
That's a good one.
That's a good question. I was recently when the Giants won, I said, go for it, okay? they have to fall, okay? Then there is New Year's resolution when they're giants. They have to football and get right to the field goal, and they said, it's a touchdown, it's a touchdown. Okay, that was good. And then they were tackling each other on the floor. And this giant had the ball right in here. They were going like this. Okay, they're doing it again. They're tackling each other again. And after that, I wish the new judge would resolution to a touchdown. And they got the ball right in here, and they whacked it, and finally went over the goal post. And said, another touchdown. And they won the game. So then, for the resolution for the Giants, I hope you win.
And there's vocal variety, and there's physical variety. She was out there feeling like you were in the game. You could actually see that game going on. She took a couple seconds beforehand to gather thoughts. That was something that I did not mention earlier, is that you can always stand there and think about things for a second, or 2 seconds, or 30 seconds, or however long it takes. I thought it was very exciting the way you did that. I was pleasantly surprised. And you're not even a CTM yet.
Actually, it's
ATMD.
mm-hmm.
ACD. I'm not up on all these new designations yet. What, you're coming up? Oh, sure. Come on.
I was actually stretching the back.
Stretch your legs. Join us in the front of their booth. And your name, please?
Nancy.
Nancy.
No letters.
Oh, so we'll give you a real easy one, or what do you feel? And we'll tell you what, let's play around with this a bit. What New Year's resolution do you think should have been made by Bart Simpson?
A New Year's resolution made by Bart Simpson. Can I answer the question about the
Yes. You don't have to answer the question.
I actually find this question difficult to answer because I dislike the Simpsons show so much. If it's on the TV, I'll push right over it. I think it's sort of rude and obnoxious, and it's not something that I would watch. So my resolution for Bart Simpson is to go to some school that teaches him some manners, perhaps, and be more respectful to his parents and his neighbors, and treat his sister nice. He's got a nice sister, but it shows like I've seen the show, doesn't it? So I just said I'd push right over it. I have seen a few episodes. That's why I know I don't want to watch anymore. I think that the New York Giants should become the New Jersey Giants.
When I was listening for something to present an evaluation, I thought that when she came to the part to say, Bart shouldn't be on TV. I thought, that'd be kind of a nice thing to close on. But then she kept on talking, and I thought, what's she going to say now? And then she went into the Giants. Left turns are always entertaining. I enjoy a good left turn on. Oh. Go Eagles! Yeah! Actually, I don't follow football at all. I've been to one football game my whole life, and that was the 1968 Army-Navy game. Guess who won? I don't know. I'm not a football person. Who wants to try next? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I call on my friends to help me out, Pat, not Pat. That's the second time I called Mary Pat.
Oh! Come on, come on.
I was hoping that no eye contact would help.
Pat, it's good to see you. Have you gotten your CTM? Have you gotten your ATM? No? Well, guess what? You're on the far side of the line. Tell me what the New Year's resolution that should be made for your car.
Apologize, Masters, honored guests. I honestly can tell you that my car doesn't need to make any New Year's resolution. It's my best friend. I love it dearly. I bought it used last June. I've been quite happy with it. However, within the past couple of months, I haven't been able to drive. So I'm looking forward to learning, hopefully this week, that I can get back behind that wheel, get on that road again, and move around. Because I enjoy being in that car, sitting in that car, putting those seat heaters on. I was quite lucky to come across this car because I was looking at different cars, used cars, on my quest for the best. Along that road, I hit a number of speed bumps. Those speed bumps, by another name, are god-awful salesmen. I hate salesmen. And any of you are looking for any vehicles, I could offer guidance as to the salesman that you can go and give a problem to. But then I'll give you the name of my salesman, Lawrence Flexes. So, my car needs to make no resolution other than to get my butt behind that wheel again.
Thank you, Mary. I love the Bible. just like with the football game. If you can get out there and act it out, that shows absolutely the best possible body language. It's sort of a physical grammar. In fact, I've seen some club meetings where the grammarian will talk about your body language because your body can say something that's not in keeping with what you're talking about. If you're talking about a real serious subject, and you're standing like this, and, I think they ought to end the war in Iraq. Well, you're talking about something very serious, but your body is saying something very casual. So there's a disjoint there. And that wasn't there at all with what Mary was doing. Although she did swerve into the salesman story, if I can have a little pun in there. It might have been a little bit off. It's always good to try and focus on a single point. Unless, of course, somebody hits you with multiple table topic questions. For those of you who were at the district conference, Jean was there, and Mary, I think you were there too. I got to ask the table topic question at the district level 2 years ago, and I used a 4-part question. I was really nasty. And the judges are watching to see if they answered all 4 parts of the question, and they would lose points if they didn't. So it's always good to try and stay within time. Okay, question.
So you do have to actually answer the question.
In a contest situation, you lose points for not answering the question. But it's not much. It's 10 points total. So you may get a 90 instead of 100, whatever it may be. You can risk it if you like, but especially when you get to the district level, you can't afford that. Every single point matters when you get to the district level. I've been a judge, and I've looked at sometimes, and they're tied. 2 people come out tied. On a scale of 1 to 100, that's pretty unusual. People come out tied. Then you just have to go to a subjective judgment. You say, well, which one was better? Well, she answered the question, but she didn't. Who am I going to pick? It's a very good question. Feel free to interrupt with questions. If you raise your hand, you want to come volunteer? No, you want to do it?
Whatever, I may as well.
All right. My wife Roberta is the Vice President of Membership for the Libertarian Toastmasters Club. She's a charter member of our club, and she's been very supportive on all my Toastmastering. I never leave her without it. I'll give you the easiest one I've got. What do you think should be the New Year's resolution for Snoopy?
Hello, Toastmasters. What should we do? New Year's resolution for Snoopy? I'm not sure that I have a good answer for that question. The first one that comes to mind for me is I work in a Hallmark shop, and we've got this lovely musical cars now, and my favorite one this year wasn't actually Snoopy, it was Shredder. He was playing the piano. That same thing you just hear every year. It was my favorite. And we also put Snoopy on TV everywhere at Christmas time, so we can do it. So I can sit and watch and enjoy Snoopy.
Didn't answer the question, but was very close to the question. Now, in a contest situation, that would be considered very bright. Grab onto something like that, do a segue, bring something very close by, because it's not Snoopy, it's right next to it. But I wouldn't expect anything less from my dear wife. She's had one of the best educators in the world. Now, before we came here, I told her I wasn't going to call on her. Her hand came up and she was scratching, and I wasn't sure.
My bad.
No, Mary, you already did one. Should I try and do a prop?
What? I never gave a speech. I just joined.
Don't hang yourself. Welcome to the front of the room. I'm sorry, I've already given one of the easiest ones away. We're going to have to fall back on one. It's a little... Oh, yeah, there's one other one that's real easy here, and a very easy target. What is the New Year's resolution that should have been made by the Honorable George W. Bush?
Good afternoon, Toastmasters and honored guests. What should the resolution be for this new year for George W. Bush? I'm not a great fan of W. I like his dad better, and I'm not really a Republican, and I'm not really signed up as a Democrat either. But I would venture to say that George Bush, W. Bush, should seriously consider removing our troops from Iraq. I agree he should do it carefully, and I agree he should do it in an organized manner, but I do feel that as a number one resolution, I'm going to give you number two also, that he should do that for our boys that are over there serving and the guys that unfortunately were very injured and, God forbid, in some cases have lost their lives. The second resolution, if I may give one, would be to just get out of office as quickly.
And you call yourself a novice? That was excellent. First, when you come up here, you acknowledge the audience, which is always a very important thing. Out here, judges take all points if you don't acknowledge your audience. Friends, woman's country. You also burned up the clock by repeating the question. You listened to me. You could the word for today. And did you hear? She had structure to her speech. Number one. Number two. That's a great thing. She warned us it was coming. One of the basic tenets of telling a speech is you tell people what you're going to tell them I'm going to tell you what you told me. So she was following right down that line. Now, I thought she was going to go through the second one, and I was wondering what sort of a wrap-up she might do. But the second one was the wrap-up. Hard hitting, and it got the whole room laughing and clapping at the same time. Tremendous, absolutely tremendous. And you're new? Have you spoken in public before?
Yeah. Not, organized without the ums and the ahs though.
And I didn't hear any of
Because
them.
my first role was the ah counter. So I'm very, I'm very aware of that in others. I just have to try to be more aware of it for myself.
Mm-hmm. You did absolutely perfect. If I could just do a quick segue. My first meeting, when I was sitting back where Mary was sitting, ah counter came up. Said, yes, and Jean, you had 2 ums, and John, you had 3 ahs, and Pat Pfeiffer, is she still around? I love Pat. Pat. And Pat, you had 36 ahs. The room burst into applause. This is my first meeting. And I just elbow the person next to me. I'm like, why are they clapping? He leans over and he says, last meeting she had 50. I came away from my first meeting a better speaker, even though I sat in the corner checking my pulse to see if I was going to have a heart attack. Because I learned that ums and ahs are important. They can detract from your presentation. That's one of the key things you have to remember when you're giving not only a table topic, but any speech. All of the things that you use in a regular speech, all of the tricks, the structure, the opening, audience participation, whatever it is, you need to put that into your table topic. If you volunteer often enough, it becomes second nature. Anybody involved in politics? Nobody? Oh, you should. Plato once said, those who are too smart to get involved in politics, leave it to those who aren't. The Republic needs you. Don't they? Next. Who's next? In our Libertarian Club, everybody does table topics. We schedule half an hour, a solid half hour for table topics. Some people get up twice. Because half of our members are members of the Libertarian Party, and probably a quarter of them are in public office, and we have a few elected libertarians who are members of our club as well. So it's important to do this. What, Jean, who are you pointing to?
Dan.
Did I see you in the dance club the other night? Come on.
Same second in area 19 table topic.
Oh, so we have a winner. Come on out front. Well, I give you a real good one. I was saving this. I thought of giving this one to Jean because this is outside. I want you to tell me what New Year's resolution should have been made by Mortimer Shagnorton III. Mortimer Shagnorton III.
Fellow Toastmasters, Mr. Table Topics Master, what resolution should have been made by
Mortimer Shagnorton.
Mortimer Shagnorton III? Well, as you all know, Mortimer is the father of... No. He's the father of burning out time during tables. Well, that's for you to decide. Mortimer actually was the first person to ever speak at a table topics contest. And he was famous for gazing in his face, walking around, not saying a whole lot to burn up time. So he's the patron saint of burning up time. And he would often look over and say, well, hey, Miss Timekeeper, how am I doing? And he often, he would do whatever he could just to burn up time. But then he said, oh, my time is up. I can stop stalling. So I believe the resolution he should make is to learn how to actually think about something to say rather than just wandering around, busy in space, and burning up time. Maybe hoping to get to the old paddle one day.
That was absolutely tremendous. And there's another example of the use of a prop. You rolled up in that one speech. I have to tell you who Mortimer Shag Norton III is.
Please.
When I was a little kid, I used to watch a show called Happy the Clown. And Happy had this little toucan. It was a stuffed toucan. And they had a naming contest. And that's how they wound up naming it. Now, why that name stuck in my mind, I don't know. But I needed a fictitious name because he did an example of one of the things I mentioned. He lied to his teeth! And he did a tremendous job about it. Patriots saying it's stolen from time. No wonder you won. I'm strictly impressed. The body language, he did a mortal sin for a speaker. You know what he did? He turned his back on the audience, but it worked because he was there. That was his goal, to say, I don't know what I'm doing up here. We'll do one more.
I have a question.
Okay.
Okay, so I want to apologize for speaking because I did something I don't think I'm supposed to do, which is speak while someone else is up there. Now, during a contest, do people tend to shout out things or laugh or say comments, and therefore should you respond during the table topic if you can? Like, he was great, yeah, he was like, and it's for you to decide. And went right back into it. It was great.
Great comeback. Absolutely great comeback.
And does that happen?
Yes. Yes. Speaking as a judge, if I see that you as a speaker can elicit anything from the audience, you get a plus mark in my book. And in fact, at the International Speech Contest, I think it was Darren LaCroix, he had a speech. I think it wasn't Darren. I forget who it was, but he was talking about one of those days. He went to the airport, he got bumped, he got into a fight, he got a speeding ticket, all sorts of things. And he said, early in the speech, he said, and I knew early on that it was going to be one of that. And the audience all went, one of those days. Oh my God, that's brilliant. He put himself out at the mercy of his audience. If nobody said anything, it would have been, it would have been over for him. But he put everything on the line, and he did it once. Not everybody did it, but he got enough out of them. And then at the end of the speech, you know what his closing line was? And I guess it just was. And the whole audience, one of those days. Brilliant. So if you can do that, if you can elicit that kind of stuff, that's exactly what you want. All right, one more, and then I'll just say a few closing words. Who wants to do the last one? Are you CTN, BTN, ATN? Not at all. All right. Pennsylvania, New Jersey. New Jersey. Okay? Since I am a political sort, tell me, what is the New Year's resolution that Governor Corzine should have made? Governor Corzine.
Did I ever say that I thought all table topic masters should be thrown out the window? Governor Corzine. Now, he was elected a year ago, and I think he's trying to lower property taxes. Is that it? I'm not sure. I beg your pardon. I haven't been paying attention that closely to the politics. But I know that I was at the Italian-American Festival in Mercer County back in September, and he suddenly made an appearance with his entourage. And there were many men that looked like Secret Service, and they were coming through, and they were shaking everybody's hand, and he said, oh, it's the governor, it's the governor. And, you know, it just seemed like there was a lot of star quality to it, but I don't know. I didn't. I got the green.
Thank you. Excellent opening. She drew us all in. Humor that. And to live it on a weekday. You need that punch, otherwise you're not going to wind up winning the table topic contest. And there's one thing I noticed, and it wasn't just you, I saw a few other people doing it. When you answer the question, you kept talking to me. And poor Mary Lynn is over here thinking, oh, she's mad at me now because I You have to keep in mind all of the things that you learned about speeches beforehand. And the best way to learn those things is obviously come to meetings. Obviously, volunteer. Get up there and do it. Seek help. I have several, I call them my Toastmaster heroes, who have helped me reach the point where I am now, where I'm just as comfortable talking one-on-one to a crowd of thousands. I've been on national television, shaking a finger at Tom Ridge saying, if you were doing your job, I wouldn't have to be here today. You learn how to do that from our fellow Toastmasters. You get the support and the help. And you never know when you are giving that support and help. I think of Mary Lou Hairston, who I'm disappointed not to see today. Because she did an impromptu speech up here. Beginning of the meeting, I said, Mary Lou, you're going to do an advanced speech today. It's an impromptu speech, no preparation. We're going to get up there, we're going to tell you 5 minutes before you start what it's going to be about. It's going to be about the death of a child. She stood up here. 5 minutes thought, just sitting there thinking. She pulled at those heartstrings. It was such a great speech that I remember today. That sort of thinking, that sort of approach made her one of my Toastmaster heroes. Just to watch her do that. Another one of my Toastmasters heroes was in a little bit touchier situation. Carol Graves. Anybody know Carol? She's in Division A. No Jean, of course you know her. I was at my first Toastmasters district conference, and she was sitting at the table with us. It was breakfast, and there were 7 of us sitting around the table. District Governor Terry Shutt was up there, and he said, welcome to the Toastmasters Distinguished Toastmaster Breakfast. And everybody applauds, and this is the time when we honor our new DTMs, and to give us our inspirational thought, Carol Graves. Carol's sitting at the table. Carol had no clue what was going on. Do you know what she did? She stood up, she smiled, walked to the front of the room confidently, walked up to that podium, and started to give one of the best inspirational speeches I've ever heard. She had people standing on their feet, holding hands. Think the thoughts that you would wish for the world, she said. Together we can make it happen. I was blown away. She came back to the table, mumbling, saying, I can't believe he did that. She's my hero. I said, how could you do that? This is my first district conference. I kept thinking, who are these people that they could do that? That is what Table Topics does for you. Now, your Toastmaster heroes, they come in all shapes, all sizes, all types, and they do different things for you. Some by their speeches, like Mary Lou. Some by their example, like Carol Graves. But there are other people who stand behind you and you say, come on, get up there. Somebody like Jean who knew that I came to this club to learn table topics. And she said, I'm going to call on you first, every single meeting. And we're going to make sure that you become the table topic master. That you become the contest winner. Now, I joined at the end of 97, November of 97. Table Topics contest in 1998, there I was, because one of my Toastmaster heroes was standing behind me, kicking me, pushing me on. Because she knew that I was planning to run for office, and a lot of what I did in politics, and virtually everything that I've done in Toastmasters, I can lay at the feet of one of my greatest Toastmaster heroes, Jean Shipley. See that we're out of time. Are there any final questions? Hearing none. Let me ask you, please get out there. Practice. Do your table topics. Wing it. Lie if you must. Because a blank mind is a terrible thing to waste.
About the table topics. Let's give him a hand. You made it fun to learn about table topics. You've given a lot of new information, made it fun. And if you just noticed, we had a beginning, middle, and end for the structure of the whole meeting. So we appreciate you coming and hope to see you again. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're adjourned.